I am so jealous I'm not in Mexico right now.
You know, you say
It's
that
not
all the
fair.
time. You're welcome to move down here. When, Risa? When?
I know, I know. I'm doing my work. I'm doing my due diligence, as you said, and that's why we're here today because we're going to help other people do their due diligence. Um, it's been so much fun doing these videos with you, and it's kind of been a happy accident, right? I mean, we've known each other for what, 6, 7 years now, or is it more?
Um, wow. You know what, Risa? I think it's been longer than that. I think the first time I filmed a House Centers episode with you was in 2013. So what's that? 8 years?
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
going on 9.
And yet, we still look the same age.
The magic of technology and a good doctor. And we have both in Mexico
Yeah, right.
for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, so I wanted, we did our video about, and these are videos that I want everybody to watch because I
Mhm.
think that they really give a great foundation in terms of what you kind of need to know about moving to Mexico. Like we did one about um, buying real estate, right, in
Yeah,
Mexico,
yeah,
and then one in specifically about PV, Puerto
yeah,
Vallarta.
yes. And we covered some of the terms and conditions of a contract, what a contract looks like, and how to prepare yourself using escrow, how a notary functions. I think we talked a little bit about my journey, how I wound up over here, and a couple of
Oh, we
other
drove
videos.
around to neighborhoods.
We toured different neighborhoods, which I love because we rarely get to see on television or even on YouTube, actually driving through different neighborhoods that are off the tourist, where the tourist zone is, and really get to see how middle class lives, what's available, what do houses look like in like the neighborhood of Versailles, Fluvial, Conchas Chinas. On TV, you just have a few seconds just to show all the glitz, but you never really get to see what the city is really like.
So, with the popularity of the videos, which was great, and we've had such great comments and reaction from them, it's really inspired what we're going to announce today. But what kind of what kind of mistakes do you kind of see people making when they're first making their move to Mexico? Are there's like certain ones that you see that happen more often than not?
Some of the mistakes that I come across quite often is, there's so much information online, and unless you're from here or you've been visiting enough times that you kind of know your way around, if you just believe everything you read and watch online, you're just not necessarily getting the real information. There's so much editorial stuff, or people just want to comment on everything, but they're not coming from a background where they actually experienced that. They've actually done what they're talking about. So, for me, it's really important to have current, accurate information available at someone's fingertips, so they can process things and make the best decision for them based on facts, and not just is that true? I'm not sure, because there's so much conflicting information online. So, and then of
Right.
course, you ask a friend, a partier on the beach, you get people's opinions from there. So instead of clouding their judgment, we just kind of want to clear everything up and provide them with factual, true information.
As a real estate agent, you're kind of oftentimes the first stop, right, for many people because they need a home. Um,
Mhm.
what are people looking for now? Like now that we're kind of in this COVID, almost hopefully post-pandemic period, do you find there, that people's tastes have like, not taste, but people's decision-making processes have changed, or
Yeah, from this whole COVID situation, I think people have, couples and everyone's been working from home. And a lot of couples, I think they're actually having conversations that they've had on the back burner for a number of years, such as, where do we want to be in 3 years, 5 years, when we retire, when the kids are in school, do we want to live here? Do we want to move abroad? The cost of living is going up. And there are a lot of conversations they want to have, but because they're so busy working, driving to work, coming home exhausted, and then barely grabbing a bite to eat, going to sleep, all these important conversations have been put on the back burner. But because now they're together almost 24/7 at home, they're having conversations, they're searching online together. So when the lockdown first started in March of 2020, I really thought that, the whole economy was going to collapse, kind of like we went through in 2008, but it's been the complete opposite. A lot of people have been contacting me in our office wanting to move abroad. And I think one of the things is that because people have been forced to use the technology that's already here and new technology that's come out as a result of the COVID and working from home, people are realizing that if they can work from home, why live in a concrete city? And the cost of living is just outrageous. Insurance, taxes, rent, mortgage, and for what? If they can work from home, why not move somewhere else? Why not go to Mexico and have a beautiful view of the ocean, the mountains, open space, and work here. And then if you have to fly back home once in a while, you can do that. So I've had a lot of people relocating here that are still working, that are not retired, and those that were considering retiring somewhere further out, like Europe. They're kind of thinking things through, because God forbid something like this happens again, how are they going to get back home? So Mexico has become even more attractive than ever before, because for the most part, if the airports are shut down, maybe they can drive across the border, and if they need to ever go back home for whatever reason, there's a direct flight for the most part to the big cities in Canada and the States.
Yeah, that's so great. That's so, so awesome. And I was there for 3 weeks. We were filming for 3 weeks in December,
Yeah.
and every day was just so nice.
Well,
And,
you
we
had a
got to
nice
have
little
great
pad there,
food.
didn't you?
What do you mean? I know. I
Uh-huh.
have to thank Carl Timothy for that,
Yeah.
for the penthouse. And we did do a video on that, and we gave a little penthouse tour to give people a taste of like the kinds of condos that are actually available in Puerto Vallarta and other parts of Mexico.
Yes.
It's really amazing, actually. And um, I can't wait to get to spend more time down there. My daughter, she's almost off to college. So once we get that chapter kind of on its way, then I
Mhm.
can really start to think about it. Um, but yeah, so basically we want to announce the fact that we're going to be doing this free webinar about the dream retirement in Mexico. Just for because we've had so many questions and so much demand, and people are just biting at the bit to want to know how they can make it happen for themselves. And we've talked about this, Tanya, right? And it's not only for those who are just about to retire, but how can we, and at our age, in your 40s and 50s, those of us who are starting to think about retirement a little bit, we could actually live that lifestyle now, right? We can actually start to put the wheels in motion now and
Yeah.
not wait until we're 65 or 70.
That's correct. And actually, I had a meeting earlier this morning with a client of mine. I mean, he's in his late 30s, and he's a finance guy. And he said, Daniel, I could probably work, from Mexico for 3 or 6 months out of the year. Then I'll go home, be with the family and do whatever I have to do, and then come back here. So these are things that people have been wanting to do more so now than ever before. So putting this webinar together and doing more of a deeper dive and explaining the processes, and look, you can do it. That's the thing. It's not an impossible task. You just have to have the right information so you can kind of line everything up, and then make the move. I mean, if I can do it, I mean, anybody else can do it. It's not rocket science, but there
Yeah, that's
is
what
a
I
lot
say.
of information, and we're really excited to share that with the world.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. So basically, if you're someone who's like really been kind of curious about what it's like to move to Mexico, or you're ready to retire, or you're thinking about retirement, or you just want to change, I think this is something where you just want to set aside an hour and come to the webinar, because I just think it's going to be so great for you to kind of see what's possible. And I think that, because I've been had the opportunity to go to Mexico quite a bit, and lucky enough to direct episodes of House Hunters, because so then we were actually going to see real estate and
Yeah.
actually checking out homes and stuff. Kind of I was able to kind of see behind the curtain a little bit. And so yeah, so you're going to talk about what you need to know in terms of buying real estate, right?
Yes.
We're also going to talk about kind of, if you don't even know anything about Mexico, kind of like what your wish list is in terms of where you want to live and, make suggestions, whether it's like, if you're a total mountain person, you're a total city person, or you're a total beach person. Um, there's a lot of different options in Mexico. A lot that I was actually even surprised. Like, not everything is, it's not always super hot here in Mexico. That's what's so crazy, right? You have some places that are kind of elevated
Yes,
in
actually,
the mountains.
about 2 weeks ago, I was in the state of Veracruz filming for an episode of House Hunters International, and we filmed in the state capital of Jalapa, which is around hour and a half, hour 45 minutes north of the Veracruz International Airport, and it's a subtropical climate there, so it's a bit cooler than Vallarta. Vallarta is tropical climate. And the second day I was there, I opened the curtains of my hotel room, and there was fog. And I was like, fog in Mexico? I mean, I've never seen fog in Mexico. And turns out it's like San Francisco, you know? And it was foggy all day. And then at one point it got so thick, I couldn't even see like, 10 feet in front of me. It was
Wow.
really cool. And where Jalapa is very lush and green, but it's forest green, whereas Vallarta is jungle green and it's tropical and more humid and warm. So Mexico has all of it for you. I mean, if you want to live in the desert, there are states that are deserts, and if you want to live in
Like
a cooler
Cabo.
climate, like Cabo, yeah, I used to go to Baja California all the time, and that's a desert peninsula for the most part. But right now I live in the tropics, and it's not hot and humid all year round, but the average temperature is in the 80s over here. So Mexico has a lot to offer, and we spoke with a lot of people, living and working in different places of Mexico. So there's a lot of great information for us to share, and I'm so happy that I think this is the first platform of its kind to show people and actually speak with the people that made the move, and not just kind of do a voiceover and just talk about a place, but actually speak with people that are living there, that have moved there, that are working there, or they're just there part-time flying back home, and see what their experiences are like. So this is a really great opportunity for everybody.
Yeah, and we're going to have a special guest, Pam Thompson. She is a healthcare specialist in Puerto Vallarta. She's going to talk about healthcare in Mexico and kind of what you need to know, because I think that's really top of mind for a lot of people.
Yes.
It seems to be one of the top, one of the first questions that people always ask, when they're considering a move down here, like I'm there, but no, I'm
Yeah.
down in Mexico.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of things to consider when you're going to be moving to a different city or different country. Is what kind of healthcare is over there. I mean, if you got, especially if you've got a certain condition, you or a loved one that needs a special attention. So you want to make sure that they have facilities there, doctors there that offer those kind of services. For you, and people want to know, do they speak English? Sometimes people are intimidated because they think if they move to a foreign country, do the do the professionals, do the attorneys, the doctors, the dentists, do they speak English? So Pamela's great. Pamela's been in Puerto Vallarta for a very long time. She's like a liaison for our English-speaking visitors and residents. So she has a lot of fantastic information for everyone.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's so, so awesome. So we're going to have this webinar in June. All you got to do is pick out the date and time. You just go to dreamretirementinmexico.com, and it'll give you the dates and the times, and you just choose which one works best for you. We're going to be there live, which means we're going to be there to ask questions. We're going to be there to answer questions. Um, and yeah, so because we just really want people to make sound decisions, right? We
Yes.
really want them. It's this webinar is a prelude to a program that we're launching called Dream Retirement in Mexico, where we actually do a much deeper dive into things that you really need to consider and make decisions on before moving to Mexico. And I think it's great. It's a great kind of first step before actually going, I think, right? So that way you kind of you're equipped with all the information, and then you kind of know what questions to ask, what to do, basically where you want to go and check out first, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's important as well.
Yeah, and this webinar, it's a long time coming, and having the right information at your fingertips is the key thing here, because you can't make sound decisions if you don't know the facts. And so this is really a wonderful opportunity. I'm really glad that we're doing this. We've been talking about this for quite some time.
It is absolutely free. It's only going to cost your time, basically.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth an hour of your time to come and check it out, and and to see. You may feel like, no, it's not for me, and that's really important too, right? Or you may feel like, I got to call Tanya tomorrow because I am on a plane there now. Either way, it's great. So that way you have some information, what it is that you want to do kind of moving forward, and if it's for you or not. So I hope you'll join us. It is dreamretirementinmexico.com to register. And we'll both be there, right, Daniel?
Yeah, I'll be there. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you there.
Have a good one.